What's up guys, Jonkins here with another video. It's time to talk about Diablo 4. For context, this review is from a point of view of a guy that didn't play last season and decided to go in blind on this one. I only knew just much as in Diablo 4 Season 4 trailer, so not much. Really didn't read any patch notes, wasn't looking into any sort of guides, just wanted to go in and have fun and see for myself is D4 is still D4 bad. With that covered, let's get into it. QoL Changes. Yes, there are quite a few of those. In general, all the little things made game more enjoyable. For starters, horse charge in cities. Possible now. Sometimes even when you go out of town it doesn't reset the speed, so traveling is quite a bit smoother than it used to be. I honestly didn't expect that. Leveling is much faster, both character and glyphs, and really not much else to say. The pacing is just better now in my opinion. A loot filter replacement by Blizzard. They removed most of crappy affixes from the items, so they are easier to spot as decent pieces, also providing less clutter. Although it came with a little downside in my opinion, rare items are completely useless now. You could just be dropping crafting mats instead. And yes, these are a bit more than QoL changes, but that's what they improve. Anyway, blasting through dungeons and not having to go back after each one or two is a great change indeed. And probably the biggest thing in this section, changes to the codex. Imprinting good aspects and collecting them, it's so good now. Being able to get a good aspect on each new piece without worrying to waste a decent rolled aspect is great. It encourages you to mix and try things out, and that's great. Quite a few other small changes, like reducing time to release a prisoner in dungeons and stuff like that. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of small changes improving the gameplay so you don't feel like game takes time from you for no reason. I do like that. And one more thing, boss fragments dropping almost every content you do. A great change, encouraging to do bosses. I approve. Overall, I would say they did a very good job on just improving basics of playing the game. It's smoother, faster to progress, you have less to worry about doing something wrong, and all of those combined make the game much more enjoyable to me. Tempering, Masterworking, and the pit. So basically the meat of this season and certainly a thing that will stay for much longer. Tempering is great, it's cheap to add affixes to any legendaries you get. Even if it's early game you won't feel cheated out of resources. Just being able to tailor each item to your build every time a thing drops, I think it's a good starter for crafting system which makes items more interesting to get. Probably Last Epoch inspired them a little bit, but it's a very good and needed change to even start talking about crafting in Diablo 4. About Masterworking and Pit, I'm not that keen on this thing. It's decent and new, don't get me wrong, but the cost of upgrades is quite high and farming the pit is just boring. Not a fan of that gameplay loop. They basically copied Greater Rifts from D3, but somehow they made it much more boring. I think elites dropping balls of progress, like it was in D3, is like a tiny change in the gameplay that makes playing through a little bit more engaging. And yes, it may seem like a dumb little thing, but hear me out. In the current pit you just run forward, kill the mobs, kill the boss, collect the loot, and you're done. It's super uninteresting and very repeatable. The only thing that changes is the difficulty, but in a numerical way. Mobs are tougher and hit harder, that's about it. At least seeing some sort of reward for defeating a lead pack and having to collect it is something. Helltide and Season Dam. Now, new Helltide is awesome indeed, but not flawless. New threat system is engaging and mixes things up. You no longer just go from event to an event, you can do whatever you want. Everything kinda works. Of course, you can do it more or less efficiently if you just count the cinders, but just playing it is more fun than it used to. I feel like it's most polished gameplay system they have right now. Having Helltide available from level 1 is kinda good and bad, because you can start with it, but you're still gonna do it in much later stages of the game, and nothing changes except toughness and damage of the mobs, like in the pit. I honestly regretted that I skipped the campaign because very early game with clunky build was just so damn boring, when I thought that in 10 hours of progression I'll be probably doing exact same thing, but just with a better character. Along that line, Helltide boss, the maidens, please tell me, why you didn't make like, I don't know, one more differently skilled maiden? This would change up things so much. I'm not saying it's a bad designed boss, it's fine. I just wish it wasn't the exact same boss with different name every time on every difficulty level. It's just kinda boring. But still funny when you see that expanding circle consuming players, me included. Okay. Oh shit! Dude. And now I fucked up and died! Oh my god! Also, Helltide being up pretty much all the time, I think that's a bad change. Yes, it's available and comfy, but it makes it less unique, it's not an event. Now it's just a place to do farming and get bored after a few. With that, let's talk about Iron Wolves. Although I feel like there is not much to talk about really. The detective quests were meh, the early rewards were very good in furthering progression through warp tiers, but getting to that last row took a long time. And those later rewards gave me basically nothing, because I was already farmed up on Ancestrals and Tempers. Maybe the reputation caps are too big on later stages, or maybe rep gains aren't boosted enough. I don't know, and I don't really care at this point. Vampiric Dam I did enjoy, and I think it was much better than this, but it's not really the main point of this season, so I don't consider it any sort of a flaw. It's just some other small addition, it's meh, and that's honestly okay. The build and future plans. Like I said on the start, I went in blind, not looking at any tier lists or stuff like that. I had the vision, as Diablo 2 veteran, to build a Frozen Orb sorceress, and honestly it surprised me how well the build performed. It's surely not a meta build and I'm sure there are ways to make it much more viable, but I'm kinda happy with it. And here is the current iteration of the build. So here is the build basically. It's a level 97 Orborbast Dirty Hoarder, because that's what I am. And basically the gear, I would say it's kinda baseline. That's so far the final iteration of the build. We got this mana per second for sustain and stuff, cooldown reduction of course. Just basic chest piece with some defensive stats and defensive aspect as well here, defensive aspect again, avalanche key passive, additional stack, that's a very nice thing, trifecta gloves as you would call them in Diablo 3. Then those pants, yeah, they are pretty nice, you are freezing freaking everything and the AoE clear is amazing. Basically, about boots, I guess each aspect with some additional movement speed would be nice. I'm using this one for now, and it's kinda most reliable, let's say. And when you have to backtrack in the dungeon and shit like that, this bonus is up all the time, so it's pretty good. Then just some more damage boost to immobilize stunned frozen enemies, then 2 additional explosions of Frozen Orb, this one is important actually. Now ring with cooldown restoring mana, just for additional sustain. And yes, those are, I would say, quite new for me now, because I dropped this nice amulet, which gives a Frozen Orb chance to spawn a random conjuration, and then conjurations have chance to launch Frozen Orbs. So basically, or Frozen Orbs, which is great. But along this thing, I went for this ring, because each elemental damage you deal, you gain additional damage, increased damage. And now, with automatically summoning random conjurations, I randomly do all kinds of elemental damage, and it works, because previously without the neck I was like completely pure frost build. And the biggest surprise for me was the ice blades, because I was not using ice blades at all. When we started the build, well, pretty simple generator, going for max frozen orb, of course, with chance to make enemies vulnerable. That's about it. Max resource and increased damage dealt while above 50 mana. Then some basic shit. That's also a new one actually, because we had to use the generator, now we don't. But yeah, teleport with passives, just for this damage reduction node, pretty nice. Ice armor with reducing cooldown for mana spent, and we use a lot of mana, so it works kinda well. And I went with this passive on Frost Nova. Honestly, I don't know how good does it work, but I got it and it's fine. So yeah, I'm not changing that. Then Ice Blades with enhanced Ice Blades, of course, and summoned Ice Blades, and this thing is pretty sick, honestly. Especially with the amulet, and you summon like a whole lot of those, and the more you have them, the more procs of the cooldown you get. So basically you summon new pair of Ice Blades every 3-4 seconds, which is pretty damn good. Then the Conjuration Mastery along with the neck, because we weren't using this earlier, and this stacks up pretty high, and that will be a lot of movement speed, a lot of damage, a lot of mana regen. The mana sustain is really good right now. You can easily go single target on big bosses and mana is sustaining all the time. Then just barrier on using cooldowns, we got a few of them, so it's pretty consistent as well. And again, spending mana, giving us damage reduction, also very stable node. Then just this lucky hit for freeze. And this here is just a lot of damage and frigid breeze, which also I didn't like earlier, but going Ice Blades with the amulet, this one is yeah, you can feel that. So I rerolled my ring, because before I had like some resource generation or resource cost reduction, but I went for the frigid breeze on this one, and yeah, this one is kinda decent ring, probably my best item of all of those. And yeah, using specialization Ice Blades and Frozen Orb for more Frozen Orbs, so we launch a lot of Frozen Orbs and we get Conjurations and we get more Frozen Orbs. So yeah, pretty simple. That's about it. Avalanche Key passive, of course, my Paragon tree. I would say it's probably not really optimized yet, mostly optimized for damage, using Destruction, Frostbite, Control, and Unleash. What else do we have here? Well, Icefall legendary node and Rigid Fate legendary node, both just giving us some damage boosts and stuff like that. I don't know, I'm not getting too much into the Paragon tree. You can see what I've got here. I'm not gonna talk about each node, because it will take too much of a time. And I don't know if I'm even talking sense, because yeah, that's just my idea of the thing. And anyway, before the amulet dropped and this combo, I was using ring with resource generation on crowd controlling the enemy, so that was also pretty big resource gen for us, but still I had to use generator like on the bar because it was not sustaining at all. The amulet was just like some regular stuff, just with movement speed, because I like movement speed, I like to be quick. So that's it. And about the skills I was using and trying out earlier, mainly for the enchantment. We were using Blizzard with this node, so just further reducing mana cost of the core skills. That was decent, but I didn't like that I had to, like, you know, you've got the Blizzard from the enhancement for like half of the time, but other times you just have to cast it, and
Also, I was counting that, as you can see, lucky hit chance 48%, so pretty high. I was hoping that it would proc Frigid Breeze a lot, but it does not proc Frigid Breeze a lot, which is weird, I guess. Ice Blades do proc it a lot. Maybe it's just more hits, I don't know. So we were trying this, then I swapped to Ice Shards, maxed them out, you know, just respecting some of the shitty passives and stuff like that, to get it to 5 on 5. And then I think I was using this one. It doesn't matter really, because I wasn't casting it, just using it as enhancement. And when we freeze, basically just more AoE damage, and that was about it. It wasn't making much sense really, but I had to try it, so I did. But like I said, with this amulet, yeah, it changes things a lot. Honestly, I expected it would be like a bigger jump in power, but it wasn't that much of a boost. But still, probably build needs to be optimized further to get that conjuration spells a bit better, I guess, stronger, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it does fine, it plays well. For future plans, I'm kinda getting bored with the game already. To get to the late end game, you need to farm the pit, and as I said, it's boring, so I'm probably gonna skip it. Or maybe try out other build, maybe another character, but for now I'm kinda done with the game. I'm not going to give any rating, I'll just say the D4 bad is no more. Now we have D4 decent. Feels like version 1.0 basically, so I'm interested where they will take it in the next couple of seasons, and I'm sure I'll be trying those out. That's it for my review. I didn't cover all the changes, but I talked about most important ones for me. Maybe including the way gold works right now could be a thing, but honestly I think it's in a decent place right now, and that's about it. If you are missing gold, go to the tree, lots of gold there. If you got this far, many big thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Or on the stream, link down in the description.